Hi, this is Roger. Thanks for dropping by. That was a good start, turning the camera on with the lens cap on. They don't work so good like that, you know. Duh. This is going to be all sorts of bits and pieces, this video, so it's got no real subject. I mean, I watered the mounts yesterday and I did the holy clay pots as well. So I know there's some things to talk about in amongst those. And the potted plants, I mean, I haven't really been near them for what's nearly a week. So things could have started happening that I will be aware of as I come to them. So we'll see how we go. But I want to show you something. It's a little bit sad, but not to sort of worry about. As you know, I took my little Orengis to the Orchid Society. I knew it wouldn't get judged because it's 2 plants. Look at the blooms. That's 45 minutes each way in the car without any sun coming in through the windows. And then, what, 3 hours on display. Look what the dry air has done to those blooms. There was no temperatures, you know, I mean, I don't like driving in a hot car, so, you know, it didn't get hot in the car. They weren't left unattended. But look what it's done to the blooms. Now, they will still give their fragrance off, and I suspect they will still last just as long as they would have done without getting dried off like that. But it's certainly taken the edge off of, you know, their appearance. So, you know, these are the consequences of taking your plants out of their comfort zone and taking them to places where they're just not so comfortable, basically. But yeah, that's the worst I've ever seen. I haven't ever taken plants out of the grow room to either shows without that, you know, under normal circumstances they're fine. I know the worst ones to try and take on a trip at Dracula's. Oh, now it's going to rain again. Yeah, I've seen people that have brought prize Dracula blooms to a show and the bloom itself is inside a polythene bag because as soon as the humidity changes they drop. They're so sensitive. I mean, I don't grow any. I have enough trouble with my Masdevallias without introducing even more fussy ones. You know, mainly cool growing, so they, you know, don't do so good in here. But yeah, I've seen them in polythene bags, and then literally a couple of minutes before the judges come round, they take the polythene bag off. And within half an hour, maybe an hour at the most, the bloom will drop. But these are some of the consequences of just taking your plants out for others to see. But that's the worst one I've ever had. Everything else has always been okay. But yeah, I mean, there were no serious environmental changes apart from the humidity. You know, obviously it's not humid in the car. And, you know, that's a hall. It wasn't particularly hot in there. I think it was probably... It's certainly no more than 22, 23 degrees. As I said, the sun didn't get on the plant, but it certainly dried the blooms out. So got soaked as soon as I got home to rehydrate the plant, but there's nothing you can do for the blooms. Once they do that, that's how they are. Until the next spikes. Anyway, bits and bobs today. As I say, I know there are a few things lurking, and one I've... well, the expression is bouncing up and down on the settee. So there is one I'm really pleased with. But yeah, I'll get to them as and when. It's quite a long day for me in here today, but I want to do it slowly and leisurely, so I'll pick the camera up as and when I get to the various things. So it's going to chop and change a bit. Okay, that's the first problem of the day that I need to think about. Just literally over the last couple of nights, the old nighttime temperature is starting to drop down now quite dramatically. And because we haven't had much sunshine during the day, I'm starting to get low daytime temperatures. And obviously at night, I just open those doors sort of thing, and any heat in the house filters into here and helps keep the nighttime temperatures up. But I've just had a look in the house and it's only 19 degrees in the house. So there's a first. I've just turned the heating on for the first time, you know. But 19 degrees is not comfortable unless you're busy. You know, if you're busy doing physical things, then that's probably quite comfortable for most people. But when you're not doing that much, just sort of sitting, you know, I've been doing a lot of work on the computer this morning, and I was actually sort of shrugging my shoulders thinking, I don't feel very comfortable today. I hope I'm not flipping going down with something. And then I had a look at the thermometer. I thought, oh, that's probably why then. Yeah, so I've just popped the heating on to bring the house up a bit. I mean, it only needs to go up a couple of degrees, but then some of that heat will come out here. But it's going to be one of those bit of sun, bit of rain days. And every time the sun comes out, within 15 minutes of the sun hitting the glass, I'll get 2 or 3 degrees extra in here. And once it's in here, it tends to stay for quite a long time. So I don't need a lot of sunshine to get my day temperatures up. But as I say, recently there hasn't been much of it. So we'll have to see how we go. But yeah, it's signs of autumn, basically. Much colder in the mornings now, cooler nighttime temperatures. And certainly towards the end of the month, I'll have to think about actually getting the heater out here. You know, because the heat from the house obviously runs out. You know, once I'm snuggled up in bed, you know, I don't care what the temperature is. I'm warm. But the rest of the house can chill down as the night time progresses. And once you get to the small hours, you know, you get into the sort of 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, and then you get that drop at dawn, it's going to start getting a bit too cool out here. So I might have to get the old heater out here, just to keep the chill off. It's not to actually heat it, it's just literally to stop it dropping down to a point that I'm not happy with. Because at the moment, all my orchids are out here. So I've got my Psychopsis, my Phalaenopsis, and even my Paphiopedilums don't like to get cold. You know, and there is a minimum nighttime temperature. An odd few degrees lower than that, now and again, doesn't do anything any harm. But continuously it will. You will chill plants down. And strictly speaking, Phalaenopsis shouldn't really drop down much below 18 degrees C. You know, you start heading down towards 14, 15, and on a continuous basis, you will chill those plants and you'll start getting signs of cold damage, you know, which quite honestly is strange because it looks like sunburn. It almost looks identical. You know, you just get those yellow patches with brown bits. But you're effectively destroying the cells. It's exactly the same as what too much sun can do on the leaves. You destroy the cell structure. So watch your temperatures. It's that time of year, certainly in the UK, where things are on the change. Horrible to think about, you know. I've got 3 consecutive months of things hardly growing at all, if any, you know. But that's the UK. You live with it, and then they come out the other end, and most things just burst into bloom, so it's worth the wait. But yeah, trying times through the winter in the UK, trying to not let the night drop down too much, trying to get a differential between night and day, you know, really short days with lousy light levels. It is a struggle, but most of the plants just compensate by slowing right down. Some even stop growing. So they don't come to any real harm, they just don't do so much. And you know, you just have to patiently wait for the day lengths to start growing and the difference between the day and night starting to get there again. So here we go, autumn is coming. Okay, change of plan. Few plants recently, an odd mealybug here and there. I can live with that. I love squashing the little tykes. But, you know, you squash an adult, you don't know what you've left behind. You could have laid eggs somewhere and then you get a little outbreak on a plant. You know, it's a constant little niggle. I don't class it as a major big deal because it's unstoppable. So you just have to deal with bugs as and when you get them. You know, I mean, people growing outside have got caterpillars and chewing crickets and grasshoppers and cockroaches and God knows what trying to destroy their plants. So I'm lucky in here I can only ever get minor outbreaks with one proviso, that I keep on top of them. And I've been incredibly slack. I've just looked at my notes and nothing has had a spray in here for a long time. And then I sort of put two and two together and I thought, yeah, that's probably why I'm seeing a few more bugs now and again. The systemic pesticide, has a plant life of around 3 or 4 weeks when the protection is still in the plant. And then after that, it drops off. Well, it's dropped off and been long forgotten. So change of plan. The whole grow room is going to get a spray today, so I don't want to be out here filming. I'm relying on some periods of sunshine to get the temperatures up. All the fans on, but with the cooler nighttime temperatures, I want these plants dry by the time it gets dark tonight and the temperatures start to drop. I don't want my plants going into the nighttime with lower temperatures still wet. It's just something I don't do. So talking of autumn, this is Dendrobium harveyanum, and I can hear lots of people saying, no, it can't be, it hasn't got any flowers on. Well, yes, it does flower nearly all the time, but it's having a rest from blooming, basically because it got upset. The media started to break down, and it wasn't doing so well. So I took it out of the pot, cleaned it off and mounted it, and it sulked. And in the process of sulking, autumn's coming to this plant. Now this is what I call a semi-deciduous dendrobium. It keeps its leaves for quite a while, but eventually it will lose leaves, to be replaced by new canes. And that's a good sign. I've now got 2 new growths coming. I'd had no new growths on this plant for some time. So to see some growing now, I'm quite pleased about. But, there's an aborted spike there where it's not so happy. It's got another spike down there that looks like it'll push on. Now that's got flipping aphids on it as well. I need to deal with this. And there's signs of other spikes just starting on some of the canes. So it'll be in bloom again sometime down the line. They're quite fast growing spikes on this particular plant. And it has been known to bloom in the winter as well. Funny old thing this is. But yeah, for the first time in a while, it's shedding some leaves. And because it hasn't put any new growths out for some time, it's going to look a bit bald for a while until, it pushes out some more new canes. But at least there's two I can see. I haven't had a real good look. 2. Oh no, there's another one down there, so that's 3. Yeah, 3. So it's starting to sprout at long last, so I'm pleased about that. The other thing I must show you, but I'll have to put the camera down, I need 2 hands. In my video that I've just done showing all the stills of everything I've had in bloom, well, part 1, I've still got part 2 to finish off. I don't want those too close together anyway. Too much of the same, yeah, not so good. But I did mention that a notable exception that bloomed really well for me, and I forgot to take a photo, was Laelia SEPs. And I made the comment that it's going to bloom again. I've made my mind up. Well, in watering yesterday, Laelia SEPs has taken off reasonably well since it went in the holy clay pot, compared with how it was doing on its mount anyway, and pushed up 2 nice new growths. And that's a spike. And so is that. Now these grow 3 foot long before the buds come out. So, don't hold your breath. But sometime down the line we will have Laelia SEPs blooms again, and this time I'll make absolutely sure I take some pictures, because it is, out of my Cattleya types, I would say this is one of my favourite blooms. It's just the colour combination, the shape, the long arching spike. It's just got so much going for it. But quite honestly, in my mind, I didn't expect these 2 growths to actually bloom. I was expecting those to be what I call sacrificial bulbs. They are grown as a consequence of recovery from problems. And sometimes those particular bulbs on cat types just don't bloom. And then the next lot will, if you see what I mean. So I was expecting these to be blind and not push up spikes, but yeah. The last time this bloomed, it only had 1 spike. That's what's left of it there. Or was it that one? One of those 2 anyway. One of them was mine. And it had 3 blooms on the spikes. Now, it may be as a consequence of this plant, you know, having a change of environment and having to re-establish itself and feel comfortable again. It might be that these 2 spikes don't have 3 blooms on each. They may even only have 1. They might even blast. It depends how. I mean, I think there's more than enough root growth in there to support them, and that's still growing. That hasn't stopped. So the root mass is increasing all the time, which gives these 2 growths the support hopefully they need. So anyway, that I am well pleased about. Okay, I'm going to leave this video as is now. As I said, I want to spray in here today, and I don't want to be out here. This is something I do fast. You know, I get the spray on, shut the door, and vacate the premises. And then everything sits in here and stews, and then I'll switch on the vents and change the air in here, you know, later in the day when things have dried off a bit, and then I'll sort of be back to normal again. But another warning shot, it may not be obvious. I know a lot of you, when you're handling your plants, you wear gloves. That's great. But if you don't, like me, and you've just sprayed your plants, well, go careful what you're doing touching them, even if it's a week later. You know, residual chemicals on your skin is not a good idea. So take your precautions, whatever you choose to do. I'm one of those, I just wash my hands frequently if I'm out here messing with the plants. So, but you know, all chemicals, take care. Take precautions, don't go mad, and don't go breathing the stuff in. That is an absolute no-no. I mean, when I spray my plants, I'm using what I call a heavy spray. It's not a fine mist. It's droplets of water, so it doesn't really get in the air to the same extent a fine mist would. And it doesn't drift around. There's no wind in here to have to worry about it blowing back in my face or anything like that. So those sort of precautions I don't really need to take. But nonetheless, I get in here, I do the job, get out and shut the door. And that's it. The room is effectively sealed until such time as I come out here and change the air. And all I do to change the air is force these on, because at the moment they're on a thermostat. They don't come on till it gets up to 27 in here. But basically I can just throw the switch and that will suck all the air out. In here, given the specification of that size fan, it's supposed to pull the air out of this place within an hour. And obviously, if you're pulling the air out, you need some clean air to come in. And that comes in through that one down there. And I'm going to have a look into that one, because those flaps don't seem to be shutting tight anymore. So there's a constant cool airflow coming in there if there's a breeze outside, and I certainly don't want that at night. I need those flaps shut. Coming soon, those 2 fans will be sealed. They'll get bubble wrap put over them, because I won't ever get 27 degrees till we get to the end of March again. So I just seal them up and stop any drafts, and it helps keep the heat in. But so, as I say, I'm going to get my spraying done and clear out of here. Out of the corner of my eye. Hang on, I'll turn the camera off quickly and just show you something. That must have opened in the night, because that wasn't open yesterday. Now these are tiny, and I don't know why, but because of what it's called, I expected those blooms to be white or pale pink. Totally wrong. Well, you can't be right all the flipping time. Sometimes you can't be right any of the blinking time. That is, it's got ODA on it. I've got to go and get that again and write a proper flipping label. I hate having abbreviations on labels. But it's an Odontoglossum crossed with something else, and it's Devosiana. It was bought with a spike on it, and it has taken a while. This is the one known as the dirty Odontoglossum, because the older bulbs just go black. That's how it is. That's what they do. They go spotty, and then the spots get bigger and bigger until they go black. So, but yeah, I mean, that is a, you know, that's going to have to be a tripod job to see that close up. But that is a very, very deep red. lovely star shape, and lovely deep golden yellow on the lip too. And again, you can't see that properly, it's too small, but the lip is the most unusual shape. Very unusual. It's got wings and legs. Very, very man description that is. I'm sure some of the ladies would come up with much more delicate terms, but I need to get tripod on that at some point, but not today. Yeah, the first of what looks like quite a few. Yeah, I mean, that's not a bad blooming, but then I don't know. You know, as I said, the spike was on it. With the branches were just starting to show when I got this, and this was the one I had a joke about. The guy who brought this in is a really good grower, and he's been growing donkey's years. He's got a smashing collection. But basically, he walked in with this little plant in his hand with a spike on it. So before he got it to the sales table, it was sold. As soon as I see something with Odontoglossum in the name, especially if it's got a spike on it, at the price I paid for it, I thought, I'm having some of that. And he said, oh, this is a really old cross, it is. He said, this one was done about 1912, 1913. And as I took the plant off him, I looked at him, I said, well, you haven't been growing it very well, have you? He knew I was mucking about. But, you know, if you'd owned a plant that long, you'd expect a bit more than that, wouldn't you? No, he just meant the cross was done that long ago. So, yeah, I hadn't noticed that till then. Okay, closing down, work to do in here, and no more filming in here today. The air won't be clean, so I'm not coming out here. Once I've done my job, I'll be out of here. I'll put this one together and just post this little one, and then we'll see where we are tomorrow with some clean air. The stuff that ought to have been watered today, I've just had a quick check, and it's not bone dry. It'll wait till tomorrow. And if you think what's going to happen in here, the humidity in here today is just going to rock it. So they'll be fine till tomorrow. And I'll get out here and start work proper. Because this spraying job really doesn't take long. It's done as fast as I possibly can, because I just want to get out. I don't want to be in here while all that's going on. Obviously I have to be here, but it'll be done at high speed, and there will be very few exceptions. There are a few plants that won't get sprayed, and that's simply because they tend to be immune for whatever reason. There's one. There's another one. Not one bug ever has been seen on those plants. In fact, I can safely say that that whole rack is immune. Perhaps there is something in this. Strong, healthy plants are the least likely to get problems, and I can back that up. Because, you know, the plants that are recovering or in a weaker state, you know, haven't got a good root system, they're the ones the bugs seem to find first. How do they know? How do they know? You know, you sort of, you know, if you can imagine a bug getting in here and seeing dinner everywhere it looks, you'd think it would stop on the first one it comes to, wouldn't you? But they don't. You got weak plants, they'll search them out. They'll hunt them down somehow or other. No sprays getting on that. Don't get a spray on a Deesa. It's an absolute last resort. They are so sensitive to not pure water, anything that can go wrong. The Deesa will tell you about it. Just keel over. They are very sensitive plants. They come from a place where the air is pure and clean, and so is the water, and that's how they like to live. But yeah, so spray time. Vacate the premises. See you next time.